Survey says, slingshot engaged. The racing gets a bit wilder out in Montgomery County. We take the white flag with a World of Outlaws competitor. Splish splash, I was taking a bath
Oi.
while watching Race Pro Weekly.
Seriously? Don't quit your day job.
Yeah, let's go. Hello and welcome to Race Pro Weekly. I'm your host, Mike Warren. Last Friday night at Albany-Saratoga, it was the 50th anniversary celebration of the Speedway as Kenny Tremont entered the feature event with 37 points up on the Jersey Jet Brett Hearn. There was also one big-name driver who was a surprise to the action. Frenchtown, New Jersey's Billy Pouch was in action in the backup Jesse Mueller machine as there he is on the top side looking to get some things done at the Albany-Saratoga Speedway. As we head to the feature, as Alex Bell would be your early race leader in the 35-lap affair. Kenny Tremont on the move early on the inside lane, along with Peter Britton and Ronnie Johnson. Alex Bell slides up in front of Gleason, and with Gleason with momentum, gets right into the back of him as they make contact. And it collects a number of cars up in turn number 1 and 2, including Brett Hearn, who spun to avoid the incident, but would have to go to the rear because he stopped. Off the restart, it would be the 8 of Jimmy Cottrell with the race lead, but the heavy hitters were on their way through the field, and that included the Gross Plumbing Heated Remodeling. Car number 3J of Mark Johnson as Robbie Pitcher goes around up in between turn number 3 and 4. Off the restart, Johnson would engage to the outside, and he would be your new race leader, getting by Cottrell. But as I mentioned before, the cream starting to rise to the top as Tremont and Ronnie Johnson were on the move. Tremont going through that strip of black on the inside, takes the number 2 spot away, and then goes to work on Mark Johnson going to the inside. And as they come off the corner, Tremont was the faster car as he would slide up in front of him and take the race lead away. Brett Hearn fighting valiantly to make his way back up through the field, as there he is going by Jesse Mueller and then splitting the 3D of Matty D and Keith Flack for the time being in that portion of the race. Peter Britton would move into the number 2 spot as Mark Johnson trying to battle him back for position on the inside, but it would be behind Kenny Tremont, who increases his point lead with the win. The Sand Lake Slingshot opens up the weekend with a victory. Peter Britton would finish in second, Mark Johnson third, Ronnie Johnson fourth, and Brett Hearn would battle all the way back to finish in fifth. With the win on Friday night, Tremont increased his point lead at Albany-Saratoga, but as we switch gears to Saturday, Tremont was going to need a little bit of help to cut the deficit between him and Brett Hearn. Let's head to the Valley of Speed. We start off with some small block action as Kenny Tremont, with just a couple of laps to go, goes to the inside of Brett Haas for the race lead, and he would take that away as Tremont would pick up the win in the small block division. To the dirt car big block modifieds now, it would be the 1X of Denny Soltis and the 7 of John Rochelle that would bring the field to the green as they are side by side heading into turn number 3 and 4. Rochelle trying to make a bid, but the Connecticut Yankee was strong. Things would turn quickly, though, as cars get together off at turn number 2. Colby Schroeder slow, sending J.R. Hefner into the wall. Brett Hearn there as well. Kyle Sheldon and Keith Flack, along with Paul Gilardi involved. As you see, Flack with a lot of right rear damage. Sheldon with a left rear flat. Hearn with shock towers dragging from the front. Off the restart, let's put it this way. It was time for Kenny Tremont to try and strike. Soltis would get the race lead off of the restart, but the driver of the 115 was on the move as he would be just outside the top 5 very early in this one. Battle for the race lead, though, ahead of him as here comes John Rochelle. He would power by the 1X of Denny Soltis, looking for his first career feature event victory. The Sand Lake Slingshot, though, may have had other ideas as he pulls by Kyle Armstrong, and it wouldn't be long till he would find himself to the inside of John Rochelle, and he would take the lead with a long way to go in this feature event. Andy Bacchetti was on the move as well in the 34 machine as he would battle with Kyle Armstrong. As a caution would come out as Eddie Marshall would shred a right rear tire on the 98. Off of that restart, Tremont would pull away, and now Matt Papella would make a bid for the number 2 spot as he get by Rochelle, as Armstrong and Bacchetti were lurking right behind him. Bacchetti wouldn't waste any time, as well as he would power to the top side and look to get by Rochelle, and he would grab the number 3 spot. Kyle Sheldon trying to make his way back up through the field as he would get by Chad Jesio for position, all behind the Sand Lake Slingshot, who picks up a huge win at the Valley of Speed. Tremont with the win, and Brett Hearn's 19th place finish will cut the lead down to just 15 points heading into this weekend. Matt Papella would finish in 2nd, Andy Bacchetti 3rd, John Rochelle 4th, and Kyle Armstrong would finish in 5th. With Stuart Friesen's win at the Fonda Speedway a week ago, the question was, could he get any closer to the record set by Jack Johnson and Steve Danish? Let's head to the Track of Champions and find out. Start off with some Sportsman Division action. Rocky Warner and Mark Mortensen side by side as Warner would go to the inside and take the victory as the Flying Squirrel grabs the win. Modified feature would see Jesse Mueller and Pep Karate up at the front of the grid to get us started in this 30-lap feature event, as Mueller would look to take the early race lead, but Craig Hansen and Pep Karate had other ideas right away, as Hansen would slide up to the race lead, but Scott Huber would go around collecting a number of cars to turn number 4, as that would bring out the first caution of the affair. Josh Hohenforst would be going off on the tow truck. As we went back to green, it would be Mueller in command, but here's Bodie Bellinger to the inside, looking to take the number 3 spot away, but then Bellinger would go around, and a number of cars would get collected up there in turn number 3, including the one of Darwin Green and the one of Stuart Friesen. Friesen would have to go in and get the car fixed with a big point lead. It doesn't hurt him there, but the record now is in jeopardy. Off the restart once again, Mueller would have the race lead, but Jeremy Wilder going to make a move on the outside lane as Alton Palmer and Pep Karate right there running 3 wide as well. Drag racing down the front stretch. Palmer looking to keep the position. Now a battle for the lead up front as here comes Brian Gleason to the inside lane. He would take the race lead away from Mueller and look to pull away from the rest of the field. Wilder would go to the inside of Mueller and take the number 2 spot away now as he would try to set his sights on race leader Gleason, as A.J. Romano going to make his way up into the top 3 as well, getting by Mueller for the spot. Stuart Friesen back out onto the speedway trying to scrub off as many points as he could in the later laps of this one, but the battle for the lead was starting to heat up as Gleason would get by a couple of cars in slower traffic, but Jeremy Wilder would start to close in. And on the white flag lap, Gleason would bobble, and there's the door that Wilder needed to get by him on the inside lane. He drag raced by him down the back straightaway. Gleason with one last shot on the inside off at turn number 4, but heading to checkerboard square would be Jeremy Wilder as he grabs the win. Wilder, your feature event winner. Heartbreak for Brian Gleason as he has to settle for 2nd. A.J. Romano would finish in 3rd, Alton Palmer 4th, and Jesse Mueller would round out the top 5.
It's now time for this week's Recovery Sports Grill fan poll question. Do you like time trials in addition to heat races at Super Dirt Series events? Log on to our Facebook page at facebook.com/RaceProWeekly to cast your answers and let us know what you think. Last week, we asked if there was an underdog driver at your racetrack that you'd like to see win a championship. Jonathan Jones said Chad Phelps at Brewerton and/or Fulton Speedway. Blair Joseph said Mark Johnson at Malta. Kyle Dingman said Josh Hohenforst at Fonda would be awesome. Connor Allen said the ultimate underdog, John Willman at Grandview Speedway. And I think Jamie Orban had the best answer, Stuart Friesen. That dude can never catch a break. I think he might just be onto something with that one. Coming up on Race Pro Weekly, we head to the Ridge for some great close quarters wheel-to-wheel action, and we go north of the border to Merrittville. As the points race gets close, the action on the track heats up. Don't miss a moment, right here on Race Pro Weekly.
Reputable. Reliable. Results. That's what you get when you call Rick and the professionals at RCT Roofing. Quality service at fair prices. RCT gets the job done. Just like Nick Stone and the RCT Pro Stock. RCT Roofing, we've got you covered.
If you're like me, your to-do list never ends. But with just one phone call, I protect my home, family, pets, and yard all year round. With Northeast Pest Control's Premier Home Protection Program, I don't have to worry about bugs and pests, and I don't have to worry about harsh chemicals either. Now how about that want-to-do list? Thanks, Northeast Pest Control.
Ants, termites, mice, or bees, call today for your free estimate.
With Northeast Pest Control, we guarantee you'll live pest-free.
There's only one place in the capital region for you to get the full racing action. Stop down at the Bobco video booth at the track or call 518-399-0937. Bobco Racing Video, the next best thing to being there. Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly as we head to Glen Ridge for the modified feature where Craig Hansen would be your early race leader. Sean Pankman right there with Jimmy Becker, Bobby Varon, and Willie Decker lurking right behind them for position as they come around to click off lap number 1. Jeremy Wilder making his way up through the field as he would go to the inside of Sean Pankman to take a spot into the top 5. And Bobby Varon would move into the number 2 spot, getting by Jimmy Becker as Varon looked to be on his way for a much-needed win if he could get by Craig Hansen. Wilder and Becker still running for position down the back straightaway as Hansen continued to lead this one, but going into lap traffic, he shoots up the banking. Here's Varon lurking underneath him, trying to take that lead away, but near Wilder going to bear down on him as well as he would use the inside lane to get a little bit faster. And off at turn number 4 that time, Varon trying to run Hansen down, and you guessed it, there goes another engine. The bad luck woes continue for the driver of the 00 as he would have to be pushed off the racetrack. Off of the restart, Hansen would reassume control of the lead. Jimmy Becker with a great move to pull into second, but Jeremy Wilder going to go right underneath him again and take the number 2 spot away and set his sights on the 20 of Hansen. Willie Decker now to the inside of Becker would take the number 3 spot as they headed up into turn number 1 and 2 that time. And now Wilder pushing on the outside, drives right around the 20 of Hansen to take the race lead away. Wilder through lap traffic, trying to go through as he get by the 21 of Johnny Lutz, driving Alyssa Cody's car in this event. Meanwhile, Decker and Becker still fighting for position as well, but all behind Jeremy Wilder, who grabs the win at the Ridge. Wilder picks up the feature event victory. Hansen would finish in 2nd, Willie Decker 3rd, Jimmy Becker 4th, and Sean Pankman would finish in 5th. Heading in the last Saturday night at the Merrittville Speedway, Chad Brockman was looking to get some separation in the point standings over Matt Williamson and Pete Bicknell. How would this all turn out after 35 was complete? It would be Todd Gordon and Brett Clark leading the field to the green in the 35-lap feature event as the 28 of Gordon would take the early advantage. Here's Mike Bowman in the number 71. He'll duck to the low side looking for the race lead as Scott Wood goes around. He tags the 108 of Bill Bleach through turn number 4 as they will keep it going. Bowman now to the inside lane of Gordon, going to look to take the race lead away as they head down the back stretch and into turn number 3 and 4 as Bowman was on a rocket looking to try to get win number 2 on the season. Fast Freddie Carlton trying to move into the number 2 spot and get by Gordon for position, but the 28 car very strong in the early going of this event as Pete Bicknell was starting to lurk behind him as well. Great side-by-side battle as both cars, Carlton and Gordon, go up into the loose stuff. That allows Pete Bicknell to get by him and move into the runner-up spot on lap number 8, but he was well behind Mike Bowman. Tyler McPherson, Matt Williamson there with Tim Jones looking for some great racing as something appears to break on the Jones number 15 car. As now Bicknell looking to race down Mike Bowman off the restart. He'd have Carlton to deal with as well. And also Todd Gordon, who was coming back on the outside lane as the cream starting to rise to the top as there's point leader Chad Brockman. Meanwhile, Bill Bleach fighting with Gordon for position as Carlton and Bicknell putting on a great battle for the number 2 spot as Carlton would get by and then Bill Bleach would duck underneath Bicknell taking a spot away as Williamson would look to follow. Bleach and Carlton side by side, again all behind Mike Bowman, who was way out in front of this one, but with just 8 laps to go, the caution will come out for a tire going down on Mr. Small Block's machine. That would put the field right behind Bowman again, and then a 3-wide battle for spot number 2 as Bleach, Carlton, and Williamson would go at it, all trying to run down Mike Bowman. They'd give a couple look-sees on the inside as Brockman and Rudolph there as well, but it would be Mike Bowman way out in front for win number 2 of the season. So Mike Bowman picks up the victory. Freddie Carlton would finish in 2nd, Matt Williamson 3rd, Bill Bleach 4th, and Eric Rudolph would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Gary Lindbergh would win the Sportsman. Open wheel lights would go to Josh Slider. Jason Fontaine in the Hoosier stocks, and the 4 cylinders would go to Tyler LaFantazzi. Back to the high banks we go for some pro stock action, as it would be the 317 of Frank Twing, wasting no time, heading to the outside to looking to take the race lead away. And he would be your race leader early in the event. Rick Dempsey, Chad Arsenal, Daniel Sanchez on the move on the back straightaway, trying to scrub some speed as they would come down the front stretch and shake out here in this 20-lap feature event for the Pro Stocks. Daniel Sanchez would be battling with John Ruthier and the 35 of Rick Dempsey just outside the top 5 as cars would go around, as Ricky Duzlak and Paul LaRochelle would be stuck in turn number 4. Off of that restart, here's Daniel Sanchez again, making a bid on Rick Dempsey, trying to get by him down the backstretch. As Rob Yetman and Robbie Speed go at it, as well as Yetman had just gotten by Speed for the number 5 spot, trying to work on the 463 of Sanchez. Victor Hopkins right there, along with even LaRochelle, as Ricky Duzlak that time would get into the back bumper of LaRochelle, collecting a number of cars, including Sparky Riley and Victor Hopkins up on the outside of turn number 4 as well. Cars would go single file as Sanchez and the 315 of Ruthier make a little bit of contact, sending Ruthier around, and off of that restart, that'll put Sanchez into the number 2 spot as he would be chased down by Rob Yetman, all while trying to get to race leader Frank Twing. The top 3 would run single file as now Yetman trying to make a move to the inside lane off of turn number 4 to try to make it happen, as Jay Corbin making his way up through the field trying to get by Robbie Speed as well. Back to the top 3 up front with just a few to go now. They continue to run single file, and you can put a blanket around them coming down the front straightaway as the caution will come out for John Sandelin and Scott Kilmer up off the exit of turn number 2. Off the restart, green-white checkered shootout as it's going to be Frank Twing up at the front. Sanchez still holding on to the number 2 spot, and on the final lap, Sanchez pulls a slide for life and goes bottom to top on the outside and looks to win the drag race to the line, and it will be Daniel Sanchez grabbing the win. Sanchez with his first career win on the high banks. Frank Twing would finish in 2nd, Rob Yetman 3rd, Rick Dempsey 4th, and Chad Arsenal would finish in 5th. Other winners on the night, as we saw before, Kenny Tremont grabbing the win in the 358s, Michael Sabia with the win in the Sportsman. Pure Stocks would go to Brian Walsh, Jeff Meltz Jr., and Jeff Meltz Sr.
When we come back, we travel to the Track of Champions for a wild and woolly Pro Stock feature. And you can't forget about the Sportsman at Malta. You don't want to miss the finish to this one. It's all coming up on Race Pro Weekly.
Some of the music you've heard on Race Pro Weekly this week is by A.J. Jansen, Country's Rebel Rose, bringing you a mixture of high-energy rock and sultry country roots. To hear more and for your free download, check out ajjansenmusic.com.
Looking for outstanding service for your car, truck, or SUV? Speed's Garage is a family-run business providing the highest quality of auto care. From routine maintenance, brakes, engine, body, or paint work, you can trust the professionals at Speed's Garage. Speed's Garage has all the auto service you need, plus full towing for any vehicle. For championship service, go to Speed's Garage in Mellonville.
Performance, quality, service. That's DMC Racing Products. Hundreds of name brand parts, competitive prices. That's DMC. DMC Racing Products, race to win. Welcome back to Race Pro Weekly, as double features for the Sportsman at the Ridge, as Chris Curtis and Chad Edwards would bring the field to the green in number 1 as a continuation of last Friday night's feature event that had the wreck on the early lap. Brian Pesolano would get by the 14 of Chad Edwards, moving into the number 2 spot, looking to run down the 35 of Chris Curtis. As Curtis slips up the banking, Pesolano says, "See you later," on the inside lane. He'd take the number 1 spot away with Edwards still in tow. They would put on a heck of a race up front, but Pesolano doing whatever he can to hold on. AJ Philbeck on the outside, Eric Mack there as well, trying to race down your leaders in front. As with a couple to go, cars scattering all over the place as Ray Zemkin tries to make his way up, but Brian Pesolano would hold on and win feature number 1. To the second feature we go. Alyssa Cody would bring the field to the green in the 21L machine as she would look to take the early race lead until Happy Harry Schaefer would duck underneath and Dave Constantino would follow in the 93 right behind him. Constantino battling on the outside with Schaefer, trying to use that fluorescent purple light to draw him in a little bit up on the top of the car. Meanwhile, Ray Zemkin and Pesolano running right together as well through turn number 3 and 4 that time. Chad Edwards and Jim Introne side by side behind Ivan Joslin as well as they head down the backstretch. But up towards the front, Constantino says, I'm going right by you on the inside lane too, as that 93 car would push. But here comes Schaefer back at him, but the momentum would ride to the 93 as he would grab the race lead back away. Tony Ferrone running strong on the inside lane as he would get by Chad Edwards for position on the backstretch. And now Schaefer having to deal with Ray Zemkin and Pesolano coming right behind him in the closing stages of this one as Ferrone gets by, but all behind Dave Constantino, who picks up the win up at the Ridge in the regularly scheduled Sportsman feature. And, well, with Constantino, I don't even know this one. I can't even explain that. I'm not even sure what mask that is. The man of 1,000 faces, he strikes again. Nice look, too. Dave Constantino picks up the win. Chad Edwards would finish in second, Ray Zemkin third, Tony Ferrone fourth, and Eric Mack would finish in fifth. In our feature that we showed you at the beginning, Pesolano picked up the win. Chad Edwards would finish in second, Ray Zemkin third, Eric Mack fourth, and Chris Curtis would hold on for fifth. Other winners on the night, Pete Vila would grab the win in the Cruisers, and the Empire Lightning Sprints would go to Justin Phillips. We head back to the track at Champions for some Pro Stock action, but first, Jeremy Wilder going to take a dip in the pool. He thought he was cool. Hey, he won. He might as well do it, right? Anyway, it would be Randy Cosselman and Jason Casey leading the field to the green in the 20-lap feature event for the Pro Stocks, as it would be Casey with the early lead, and here's Papa J on the outside of him as well. That's Jay Casey in the 322. He would get hard into the outside wall, however, which would bring out the caution as another car goes around right in front here early in the event. Off the restart, it would be Jim Normoyle looking to take advantage and move into the number 2 spot with Casey out in front. Cousin Luke Horning right behind him and the 53B of Broderson as Dennis Joslin has trouble on the 49. Normoyle would then go to the inside of Casey and look to take the race lead away. He'd grab it as Pete Broderson would follow right behind him. Off of turn number 4, they would ride, and it would be Normoyle still trying to hold on, but here comes Nick Stone up the field as he runs 3 wide with Casey and Cousin Luke Horning, and Nick says, yeah, see you later. As now the 27 of Stone up into the top 3, looking to battle to the inside. Horning gets way wide that time as cars come together as Cassidy Wilson goes upside down in the 82. A wild ride. He'd be out of the car underneath his own power, and he would be okay. As for the car, well, that's seen better days, to say the least. Off of the restart coming up here, it would be Pete Broderson skyrocketing to the outside to take the race lead away with Nick Stone looking to follow. On the inside lane, Chucky Nabluski going 3 wide with Cousin Luke Horning and Normoyle for position as he looked to fight into the top 5 in that number 7. Here's the battle for the lead is now Stone to the inside of Broderson as they're side by side through corner number 3 and 4. They'll bring it off of turn number 2 this time as now the 27 of Stone will move underneath him and take the race lead away as Nick Stone looking for a big feature event victory once again. 7 of Dumbluski going to push to the inside. He'll get by the 53 of Broderson for the number 2 spot, but it would be Nick Stone bringing it home as the Manimal strikes again. Nick Stone picks up the win. Pete Broderson had finished in second. Shane Henderson had come home third. Kenny Gates fourth, and Tommy Denton would finish in fifth. Other winners on the night, as you saw earlier, Rocky Warner grabbing the win in the Sportsman. Street Stocks would go to Dave Horning Sr., and Kenny Hollenbeck would grab the win in the 4 cylinders. We head back to the Great Race Place, and we'll start off with some Pro Stock action as Robbie Speed has an outer tie end break, and Kenny Martin picks up the victory. And, of course, never a dull moment when Martin's in victory lane. On to the Sportsman feature, it would be the 07 of Jack Swinton that would command the field in the early going with Johnny Proctor right there as well. 2 of the young guns, the 20 of David Schilling and the 98 of Andrew Buff running side by side as well. They'd make a little bit of contact, and Tim Hartman Jr. and Connor Cleveland right together. Down the back straightaway in the early portion of this event as Cleveland going to muscle his way through. David Schilling with a great move on the outside lane will get by Jack Swinton for the number 2 spot and go to work on Johnny Proctor. As Schilling would move to the inside lane, he'd take the race lead away in the first 5 laps of this event. But some of the heavy hitters, just like the Monoflines, were on their way up early as here comes Connor Cleveland and the 22 junior of Tim Hartman as they would both be running for the race lead, as Cleveland on the outside lane that he loves to run at Albany-Saratoga so much would move to the outside and grab the spot. Hartman would look to follow, but he would get caught up racing with the 112 of Dave Baranowski for a majority of this feature revamp. Schilling and Cleveland would still battle for the race lead, as now Cleveland would start to pull away. Here's the 112 of Baranowski bearing down on the 20 machine of Schilling, but then Hartman finds something on the top side as he would look to go around Schilling and take the number 2 spot away. He would grab that as well up at turn number 4 that time. Caution would come out for Andrew Buff hitting an implement tire, and it was rolling. Off the restart, Cleveland and Hartman make contact here with just 2 laps to go. Hartman would go to the outside, then they make contact again down the back straightaway, and once again it puts Cleveland into the infield. McGrew powers around on the outside. Cleveland would be scored with the final spot on the lead lap as Hartman would be shown your leader, and it would be the 22 of Hartman picking up the victory. Connor Cleveland, after the race was over, showing his displeasure with the 22 machine as he got him not once but twice in victory lane, but nevertheless it was Hartman picking up the victory. Second would be Derek McGrew, third David Schilling, fourth Rocky Warner, and Dave Baranowski Jr. would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, Kenny Martin would grab the win in the Pro Stocks, Limited Sportsman would go to Pat Jones, Billy Dupree would grab the win in the Street Stocks.
It's now time for this week's Berkshire County Network Driver Spotlight with Albany-Saratoga and Lebanon Valley open wheel racer, young David Schilling. Race Pro Weekly is brought to you by Bob Hilbert Sportswear, Racing Electronics, Emmerich Associates, Tranquil Touch Healing, New England Racing Fuels and Sunoco Fuels. Coming up, Fast Eddie goes one-on-one with a hot shoe on the World of Outlaws tour, and we'll hand out our NYSSCA Performer of the Week. Race Pro Weekly will be right back.
I'm Brian from 1-800-GOT-JUNK. This is my main man, Tom, and my other main man, Tom.
You never know how much junk you've got until you move.
Point to something you wish would disappear.
Would it be possible to... It's gone!
All you have to do is point.
Where have you been all my life?
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
The Choices 301 program takes a multifaceted approach aimed at educating the public about the realities and dangers of what can happen when bad decisions are made inside a motor vehicle. Don't hesitate to designate. Welcome back to RPW. David Gravel last season picked up a huge win at the World of Outlaw race at the Lebanon Valley Speedway, and this year our own Fast Eddie got the chance to talk to him when the Outlaws were in town.
David here at Lebanon Valley Speedway tonight. This could be considered a home track for you.
Yeah, definitely our closest outlaw show. We don't race Middletown anymore, so this is the only track that's within 2 hours, and we love coming here. Usually have a lot of people coming from home to watch us, and I usually do pretty well here, so hopefully we could do again good tonight.
Speaking of doing pretty well, you picked up the win here last season. What are your hopes tonight?
We've been really struggling as of late with this team, and I would really like to get in the dash and just have a good solid finish. If we win, that's great too, but I would definitely just like to be in the hunt and be in the ball game for sure.
Coming from the state of Connecticut, how does one get involved in dirt track racing? Not a whole lot of dirt tracks in Connecticut.
Yeah, I raced quarter midgets growing up, and we'd race dirt once a year, and I always liked it. There was a track in Massachusetts, Whip City, that I started racing at, and then we started traveling to Pennsylvania every week to race, and with micros, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger from there.
Tough schedule here on the World Outlaws schedule. How tough is it being out on the road so long?
It's really difficult. You got family at home, girlfriend or wife. You do 90 races a year. you probably have 3 to 4 opportunities to go home throughout the year, so it's very tough. It's a balance with everything, and you just got to keep a positive attitude and keep chugging along.
90 races a year. What's one of your favorite races on the schedule?
I love Eldora and Knoxville. Lime Land's a good track, but I've done well at Eldora and Knoxville, and they got some of the bigger races there, so I would say those two.
Who do you have to thank this season?
I got to thank Destiny Motorsports. I started the year with a Roth Motorsports car and got fired from there, and about a half hour later I talked to these guys and I had a job still on the Outlaw Tour, so I haven't missed a race yet, and I'm thankful for that. I want to be on the Outlaw Tour. Obviously I want to be running better, but at the end of the day I'm healthy and racing for a living.
It's now time for this week's NYSSCA Performer of the Week, and there's nobody else we could have gave it to. After going 4 for 4 on the weekend, the Sand Lake Slingshot Kenny Tremont is this week's recipient. Tremont is eligible for the Performer of the Year award given out at the end of the season. That's all for this week's show. For the latest news, results, and photos, check out Race Pro Weekly online at www.raceproweekly.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So for myself, Amber Chalmers, Fast Eddie, Scott Morlock, and everyone that helps put Race Pro Weekly together, thank you for watching this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.